Hey, sweeties, I have a good one for you today. I'm doing pork rind crusted fried pork chops. Oh, yes, I am. I'm doing some in the Ninja Foodi XL grill, and I'm going to pan fry some. I'm using local Georgia products, local pork rinds from a company here, small business. Hot sauce, the seasoning it is another local Georgia product. Let's get into it, but first, please subscribe to Sweet Savant. Hit that thumbs up, that notification bell. Now let's get into these delicious, porky, crispy, pork rind crusted pork chops. Let's start by seasoning our pork chops with a little salt and pepper. We're going to marinate in some buttermilk, and I use powdered buttermilk, so that's why I had to mix it up a little bit. I'll put all the details of the recipe in the description box so y'all can check that out. My favorite hot sauce is another local Georgia business. This is Kaivan hot sauce. It's so delicious. Hot but not too hot. It's full of great flavor, and the vinegar in the hot sauce can help tenderize the pork chops. We'll put that in our zip top bag, squeeze the air out, and kind of mix it around so everything gets nicely coated with our marinade. And then we will pop this in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, or we can leave it till the next day if you like. I'm keeping the seasonings of the marinade pretty simple because the pork rinds have lots of seasonings on them. And I'm using a local Georgia pork rind from a small business called ENT Porky Bites. So darn tasty. I'm using 2 flavors that they offer. This is the smoky, look at the spices, you can see it. This is Old Smoky Mouth. And then they also have this lemon pepper mouth. So tasty. They've got other varieties. I urge you to seek these out. They're very tasty. Now we're going to make these into our crumbs, our breadcrumbs, sort of. Not breadcrumbs, but pork rind crumbs. And I'm using a zip top bag and a rolling pin as like the low-tech way to crush these up into pieces. And you want to get them, pretty fine so that you can get a nice coating. If they're too thick, they're not going to coat your pork rinds well. And of course, if you've got a food processor, you can use a food processor to grind these up. So I'm going to put the lemon pepper ENT Porky Bites pork rinds into the food processor, and you can see how that texture is nice and fine. So either way works well. You just want to make sure you get them into a nice fine crumb, just like that. And so this is the lemon pepper flavor. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a little bit of fresh grated Parmesan cheese to that. That's right. Lemon pepper Parmesan pork chops. So delicious. And then this is the smoky one, the smoky flavor. And you can see again, nice fine crumbs, and the so well seasoned. I'm going to use my Ninja Foodi XL grill using the probe to monitor the temperature, and I'm going to set this to 400 degrees. I'm going to manually set the temperature now 165 degrees. That's a mistake. I set it way too high. I should have set it at 150 and then checked it at then and then added more time if necessary. That was an error on my part, but here we go. So we're going to start our coating by beating 2 eggs with about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, and the extra fat in the mayonnaise is going to help fry those pork chops in the air fryer. And it helps to give you a nice clingy sort of base before you coat it in the breadcrumbs. So just mix up those eggs, beat the eggs and your mayonnaise together, and then you have a dish with your pork rinds. We'll take the pork chops out of the marinade, coat both sides in that egg mayonnaise mixture, and then into the pork rinds. We're going to start with the lemon pepper Parmesan pork rinds first. this lemon pepper pork rinds that we added Parmesan cheese to, and press those crumbs in there really well. Try to get it nicely coated and press those pork chops, the pork rinds into the pork chops so you get a nice even coating. Now we're going to set this aside, and now we'll get to work on the pork chops that we're going to dredge in the smoky mouth, that old smoky mouth pork rinds. And you can see how nicely the fine crumbs of the pork rinds coat our pork chops. It's going to give us such a nice crispy texture, smoky flavor. I tell you, this is a gem right here. You have to try this. I'm going to add a rack to the base of our Ninja Foodi XL grill. I'll put a link to a rack similar to this. It doesn't come with the Ninja Foodi grill, but it just gives you so much space to use the grill as a larger air fryer, larger than the air fryer basket does. So I'll put a link to a similar rack to this. And then we'll place those pork chops side by side in our Ninja Foodi XL grill. They're already nicely coated. Our air fryer is hot. And we're going to just pop those in. We're going to pop the temperature probe in. And again, I would set it for 150 degrees and check it there and increase it if it's not done to your liking. Because I set it to 165, and that really is too high, especially for these thin pork chops. But I guess it's a case of do as I say and not as I do. So just be mindful of that. And it'll give you a notification to turn your food when it's about halfway done cooking. So we're going to flip these pork chops over. I did spray the rack with a little bit of oil, but my pork rind stuck a little bit. It's not too bad. The lemon pepper ones stuck a little bit. Maybe it was the cheese that I added, because you'll notice with the smoky mouth ones doesn't stick hardly at all. And you can see I didn't have to spray the pork chops themselves because there's no flour, so you're not going to get that floury taste, but the pork rinds are going to be nice and crispy. And look at that. Look at the color. Really, really beautiful. You can also shallow fry these pork chops as well. We do the same sort of breading process. There's no bread, but you know what I mean. Coating them in the egg and mayonnaise mixture and then coating them in those pork rinds. Shallow fry them in a neutral oil with just, you don't have to use too much oil. You want them to come about halfway up the pork chop. So just, you're using about maybe 1/8 of an inch of oil. And it's vegetable oil or canola oil or grapeseed oil, whichever you prefer. Give them a little space. You don't want to crowd the pan. And they don't take very long, just 3 or so minutes per side over a medium heat, because these thin pork chops, they're not going to take long to cook at all. But they get super nice and crispy. Yum. Whether you pan fry these or air fry these, they are certainly delicious. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Please subscribe to Sweet Savant, hit that thumbs up, that notification bell, and y'all have a delicious day.